Baelor Targaryen was born into a realm that no longer trusted fire. By the time he took his first breath, the dragons were gone. Not merely dead, but diminished, reduced to skulls locked away in shadowed halls, their memory doing more work than their flame ever could. The Iron Throne still stood, jagged and unforgiving, but it was no longer held by fear alone. It was held together by promises, by marriages, by compromises that left scars no song could fully hide. The greatest of those compromises was Dorne. For nearly 2 centuries, the 7 kingdoms had tried and failed to conquer it. Armies marched south and returned broken. Castles burned and were rebuilt. Princes died unnamed in the sands. Dorne did not bend, not to dragons, not to steel, not to pride. In the end, Daeron Targaryen, called the Good, chose a different weapon. He married Martell, and with that marriage, the war ended. Peace was sealed not in bloodshed, but in bloodline. Baelor was born of that peace. Baelor did not resemble the kings of old. He had no silver gold hair to catch torchlight, no violet eyes to inspire prophecy. His hair was dark, his skin darker still, his features sharp with Dornish lines. Where other Targaryens looked like stories, Baelor looked like proof. At court, proof made people uneasy. In the Red Keep, nothing went unnoticed. A pause before a bow, a glance held too long, a toast that arrived late. From the time he could walk, Baelor felt eyes on him, measuring, weighing, doubting. Some lords accepted the peace with Dorne because it was necessary. Few embraced it. And for those men, Baelor became a living reminder of what had been conceded. He was not merely the king's son, he was the cost. Whispers followed him through marble corridors and beneath tapestries, heavy with conquered histories, half Dornish, sand in his veins. A prince born of surrender. No one ever said these things to his face. That would have been treason. Instead, they said them where power always speaks most clearly, behind smiles. Baelor learned early that love would never be guaranteed to him, so he learned to endure. Daeron II ruled with parchment and patience. He was a king who believed law could outlast swords, that memory could temper violence, that peace, once achieved, was worth protecting at any cost. Under his reign, roads were repaired, disputes settled, banners folded rather than raised. But peace has enemies. Some lords believed Daeron weak, others believed him Dornish in all but name. They remembered his father, Aegon the Unworthy, and the chaos he had left behind. They remembered dragonfire and conquest, and mistook restraint for decay. Baelor watched all of it. He watched how his father listened before speaking, how he let men finish condemning themselves with their own words, how he ruled not by spectacle, but by persistence. Baelor inherited that patience. But he also understood something his father did not need to learn the hard way. Peace had to be defended. Baelor's childhood was not cruel, but it was never careless. He was educated alongside his brothers, instructed in history, law, and lineage. He learned of the Blackfire rebellions, of how close the realm had come to tearing itself apart over questions of blood and legitimacy. He learned how easily the past returned when ignored. And always, there was Dorne. Envoys arrived in flowing robes and quiet confidence. Northern and Marcher lords stiffened at their presence. Every greeting was political. Every courtesy counted. Baelor noticed who spoke to him warmly and who spoke to him only because they must. He learned that he would never be invisible, so he chose a different kind of visibility. Baelor took to arms not for glory, but for certainty. If he was to be doubted, it would not be on the field. He trained longer than other princes, earlier mornings, later evenings, not with anger, but with focus. Sword and shield first, then lance, then mace, and finally, the spear. The spear suited him. It was not a weapon of brute force. It demanded control, distance, judgment. It punished rashness. It rewarded clarity. Baelor learned to fight without flourish. His movements were economical, his strikes deliberate. He did not roar. He did not taunt. He ended fights cleanly and stepped away. Knights took notice, not because he was the heir, but because he fought like a man who understood consequence. The name came not in battle, but in the lists. At a tourney attended by half the realm, Baelor faced a knight known for strength and endurance. They met once, then again. Lances shattered. The crowd roared for spectacle. On the final pass, Baelor adjusted his grip by a fraction, angled his spear with precision, learned through years of quiet practice. The impact split his opponent's lance and hurled the man from the saddle. Clean, final, decisive. The crowd erupted. Baelor did not raise his arms. He did not salute the noise. He lowered his spear and rode on. From that day, men spoke the name with respect rather than cheer. Breakspear, not because he shattered wood, but because he ended contests. As Baelor grew into manhood, his presence at court solidified. He stood beside his father in council chambers thick with grudges older than kings. He listened to lords who still dreamed of breaking Dorne by force, and to Dornishmen who knew peace could dissolve as quickly as it formed. Baelor rarely spoke first. When he did, men listened. He did not deny his mother's blood. He did not apologize for it. Instead, he embodied the union his parents had forged. He was proof that peace had not diluted the crown, but strengthened it. Some lords never forgave that. Others came to rely on him. Baelor understood power not as dominance, but as balance. The tourney at Ashford Meadow should have been nothing more than a pause in history. Bright banners, shining armor, laughter masking rivalries that would resume tomorrow. Baelor attended because duty required it, not expecting the realm to shift beneath his feet. Then a hedge knight struck a prince. Duncan the Tall, unpolished, unlettered, unknown, struck Aerion Targaryen after Aerion abused a helpless girl. The blow echoed louder than steel on steel. It broke assumption. Aerion demanded a trial by combat, not justice, vengeance. Baelor knew Aerion well enough. He'd seen the cruelty beneath the charm, the entitlement mistaken for strength. He had seen how unchecked, power rotted quietly until it devoured itself. When Dunk stood alone, without champions, Baelor understood what was being tested, not the hedge knight, the law itself. Baelor could have remained silent, as heir, as prince, as hand. Silence would have been safer. Aerion was blood. Dunk was nothing. Courts survived on such arithmetic. Baelor stepped forward anyway. He did not accuse. He did not posture. He offered his sword as calmly as one offers truth. In that moment, something shifted. Knights who hesitated followed. Men who feared consequence found courage. The law remembered itself. The trial of 7 was set. The field dissolved into chaos. Dust rose. Steel rang. Men fell where they stood. Baelor fought as he always had. Controlled, relentless, purposeful. He protected where he could, He broke where he must. He did not fight like a prince. He fought like a man who understood responsibility. Then came the blow. A mace swung in confusion, a brother's arm, a helm crushed inward. There was no malice in it, no betrayal, only war's indifference. Baelor fell. He lived long enough to know Dunk was cleared, long enough to know the law had held. No speeches followed, no crowns passed hands, only a broken helm and a field meant for games. Baelor died as he lived, without spectacle. Baelor Breakspear is remembered not for ruling. He is remembered for standing. A prince who wore peace on his face in a realm that distrusted peace. A warrior who mastered steel so he would not have to master cruelty. A man who believed the law must protect the powerless, even from princes. Truly a king who never was.